Welcome to the Health Angle Podcast with Dr. Mike Headlee and Dr. Gordon Fimreite, where we'll be exploring different angles of health to achieve the best version of yourself. Now here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Gordon.
Welcome everybody. I am Dr. Mike Headlee and with me is Dr. Gordon Fimreite. Welcome, Dr. Gordy.
Hey, Dr. Mike, and welcome everybody to the Health Angle Podcast. We've been going back to school here for a couple of weeks or so, or more for some schools. And what we're going to do is the 10 back to school health hacks. So we're going to give little tips on what people can do to help either their kids or maybe it's you as an adult going back to school or doing what you need to do to be the healthiest you can. So hopefully we'll shed some light on stuff that maybe you're not even aware of. So welcome to the Health Angle Podcast.
Dr. Gordy, I am very excited about this because my daughter is a freshman in college. High schools, middle schools, and grade schools all started this week here. I think in the South by you, they started a few weeks ago, but we just started this week. And it's a really good time of year to really recheck in your health personally, parents, kids, and do a reset on habits if you need to from the summer that got kind of loose with routines and habits. So the reason I want to contribute to this podcast is because of the study I just read today. 1 in 3 children now face chronic health conditions. And so what we're going to talk about today is going to hopefully influence that in the positive direction to help kids reduce their chronic health problems. And asthma, ADHD, autism, prediabetes are rising steadily each year, making it harder for children to succeed in school and life, obviously. Children from low-income families face the highest risk of poverty and lack of stable employment directly tied to chronic health problems. So toxins, poor diet, stress, major drivers of these issues. You need to help people, teach people to eat better and to exercise better sleep, sunlight, stress management, to help our kids because they're our future. And right now, the future doesn't look that great because there's so many chronically ill kids.
Yeah, it's a shame. So, Mike, my first one is neuroplasticity, morning rituals for cognitive priming. And neuroplasticity, what that basically is opening up those channels, the nerve channels, rewiring them so you can cognitively learn. You know, as they say, as you get older, you should do more exercises for the brain to get more neuroplasticity. And you should do that as a youth as well, young kids. So here's a 5-minute ritual that you can incorporate in the morning. It's called brain warm-up routine for kids. It boosts focus, learning, and mental resilience. And some of these activities might be as simple as juggling or mirror writing. What mirror writing is like if you write dog, D-O-G, well, write it as a mirror image backwards. And what it does is you have to think about it, and it almost uses different hemispheres to tap into. And ultimately what you're working on is that neuroplasticity as well as focus and coordination. And there's also the cross crawl exercising, and you can Google that. And it's basically, let's say, for example, you are taking your right elbow and you're touching your left knee and back and forth. They did this study years ago that showed that kids that are active and just playing on the playgrounds and running, they develop cognitively better than those that don't. And so there's a lot to be said about the neuroplasticity research that's going on there. In fact, in a 9-month fitness program, kids who got their regular exercise increased cognitively with their focus and flexibility 10 times more than those that did not. So it's really quite significant. One exercise that you can do, Dr. Mike, also, which helps with that neuroplasticity, is if you tap your head and then you just rub your stomach at the same time. It's hard to do. And then switch your hands, and it's hard to do because if you're not tapping, you're focusing on your hand going round and round. So that's just a simple exercise that you can do the first 5 minutes with your kids to get yourself going. And I know one of our fellow doctors, Dr. Shepard, he does his juggling, and then he gets on one of those unicycles, and he starts juggling. So he's really working on his neuroplasticity. So that's my number one, Dr. Mike.
I like it. I like it. I just tried to do that exercise you told me to do. So my number one is too much screen time linked to sleep and behavioral problems in children. So I believe we need to have screen plans, 0 minutes to however many you think is appropriate, because children age 8 to 12 now spend 4 to 6 hours a day on their digital devices. Teenagers spend up to 9 hours, leading to significant impacts on sleep quality and behavioral problems. And every adult knows if you don't get good sleep, you just aren't the same the next. How can you study and learn and grow? Research shows a positive feedback loop between screen time and sleep disturbances, with excessive screen use increasing anxiety, hyperactive attention problems, and depression in kids. Digital media is intentionally designed to be addictive. It releases dopamine in the brain's reward center throughout unpredictable outcomes, and it's similar to a slot machine's psychological effects. So it's just addicting, Gordy, and it's just affecting our kids. And then we wonder why they're zombies in school and don't get good grades, and they're just so addicted to it. My daughter was a senior last year. I just said she started college this year. Last year in our school district, they said no phones in high school. It was the first year. And I heard from parents in other districts too, and they were really, really excited because they said we can actually communicate in old-fashioned ways by talking instead of just texting to our friends and whatever. And they can just they feel less stressed right away.
Wow.
So I hope those trends continue in keeping the phones out of schools.
Yeah, that's great. It's interesting, Dr. Mike, because you and I grew up in a generation that you were, peer to peer. You'd talk, there wasn't technology. You went out to the playgrounds, you'd play, and then you get done with school and you'd go out and you'd play some more, and you get that motion and exercise, fresh air, you get your sunlight, you'd get all these healthy things. And we're looking at generation of kids, like I'm in Auburn, Alabama, home of the Auburn University. And it's interesting to note that like we're living in this first generation where the students probably grew up with technology from zero, from first day of life. So they grew up with technology, plus just people aren't getting out as much. And I look at the university, and I even talked to somebody that's in the counseling arena, and you'd see all these counseling offices on the outskirts of the university. They're everywhere. So I think there's an internal environment that's just not getting what it needs to adapt, and not getting the outlet from exercise or the proper nutrients or too much screen time where the technology is affecting things. So that's actually a real big deal. And especially when you start seeing a lot of these counseling offices going up everywhere, meaning that more and more and more people can't adapt internally and they need that help. Thank goodness it's there, unfortunately. So my next one is gut-brain axis. Do like a gut-brain axis breakfast swap. And what am I talking about? Replace the sugary cereals, which are not good for you, with gut-friendly foods, because that will boost mood and mental clarity. So 90% of this neurotransmitter called serotonin, that's the neurotransmitter in your brain that makes you feel good, is reliant on like the gut. So what we need in the gut is like fermented foods. An example of this for like breakfast would be yogurt or other live cultures like kefir, or get foods with probiotics. If it's not a supplement, try like bananas and oats, and get your omega-3s. This is good for brain health as well. Chia seeds and flax and walnuts. These are all really good for the gut. And if you can improve the gut, your anxiety will get better and improves your mood. That just sets you up for success in school. And it's interesting, Dr. Mike, I have a smoothie every morning and I get all these high-level nutrients. But one of the powders I use is a probiotic, and I put the high-level yogurt in the smoothie as well. And then I take my vitamins. But there'll be a certain point in the morning, or all of a sudden I get this adrenaline. It feels like an adrenaline rush. And perhaps it's serotonin rush. And you just feel it. Your body has not eaten. You basically have fast overnight. And all of a sudden you get this surge, and it's the best feeling. And it's hard for me to describe, but I know that it's it's very special. But if you can do this to a small degree by just getting rid of sugary foods, replace it with those fermented type food, you'd be much better off.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Yeah, we've talked about the gut and the brain a lot. And if you start off the right way in the morning, then you can fuel your little ones or your college students or any student for success throughout the day. Awesome. Awesome advice. My second one is kids intentionally are poisoned by artificial school lunches. Two Kraft Heinz ready-to-eat prepackaged Lunchables are being added to K through 12 school lunch programs. Kraft Heinz, which is primarily owned by institutional shareholders, the top four being Berkshire Hathaway, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, is a partner of the School Nutritional Association and has been pushing to get their wares into lunch programs for some time. So according to Katie Wilson, executive director of the Urban School Food Alliance, the fact that a processed packaged food it meets school lunch standards points to problems with the federal nutritional guidelines. And so what's in some of this stuff? Soybean oil, we've talked about the bad oils, soybean oil, harmful omega-6, linoleic acids, and things that just disrupt your energy and your mitochondrial production. There's something called vital wheat gluten. It's another concern. This is pure gluten and has been linked to leaky gut. It has artificial flavors. There's preservatives, food coloring, cellulose powder, which is a fancy name for refined wood pulp. And so what are some solutions? Pack better lunches for your kids if you aren't happy with the school lunches, and have better snacks. A lot of times kids are hungry when they come home. Make them a smoothie, maybe not as big as you did for them in the morning, like Dr. Gordy said, but what about fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and beef sticks and yogurt and granola and leftovers, or just a little snack so they can do their homework while dinner's being prepared, instead of just the Lunchables and the Doritos and the Mountain Dews and all the packaged stuff that they can snack on in Little Debbie's before they have their dinner and wreck their dinner. So, and wreck their gut, like you mentioned. So, yeah, we have to really guard these school lunches because they're filled with poison.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dr. Mike. My third one is technology. I know you touched on this already, but I want to just say there should be a detox zone at home. Take 60 minutes, an hour at least, if not more. And what those technology really do is they upset the dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter in the brain, and it disrupts that. And if you disrupt the dopamine levels, you also disrupt motivation, reward, focus, mood, and movement. So get get your children out for an hour or two of no screen time. Do some art, have playtime, go outside, go for a nature walk, just get out. What it really will do is it'll increase productivity and focus. So the children, if they have homework, they can come back and they might find themselves more focused and more productive as a result. So that's my number three, Dr. Mike.
I love it. I love it. And getting back to the Stone Age, grab a stone and use it for a kickball. You know, as well as I do, we would just grab a snack and want to get outside and play basketball or whatever season it was. Play with the
Mhm.
neighborhood kids, your brothers or sisters or whoever was around, kick the can or basketball or football or soccer, whatever was available until it gets dark in the
Mhm.
fall in school. And it's like, oh, I don't want to come in. There's some street light that you can barely see. And, the only reason I went home was probably because I was so hungry, and
Yeah.
I don't want to go home and do homework or whatever, but just, yeah, Stone Age stuff, old fashioned stuff. And really great, great information, Dr. Gordy. So my third one is junk food ads on TV make kids eat more, even when no food is shown. That really shocked me. So the takeaway is have a limit on TV time. Get them outside and call them in when it's time for dinner. Don't get them, in the basement on TV and video games and call them up for supper. Get them outside. So 5 minutes of exposure to junk food branding, including ads that did not show any food, caused children to eat an average of 130 more calories that same day. So logos, jingles, and color schemes trigger subconscious food cravings by hijacking children's natural hunger cues, even when the actual food isn't present or referenced in the ad. And so, like I said, have a limit on TV as well, because before dinner or after school, there's going to be a lot of junk food ads and fast food ads and pizza ads, and they're going to want to beg for the junk food that they see on TV, even if the food isn't shown. That's just what's shocking, just because our subconscious can stimulate our body to crave bad things. So TV curfews.
Wow, great point, Dr. Mike. My number four is light therapy before school to reset the circadian rhythm. What you want is a circadian reset. So 10 to 15 minutes of bright light exposure, whether it's natural or with a light therapy box, this just restarts that energy and that mood. So when kids wake up, usually they just, especially in the fall and the winter, they don't get enough sunlight. So what this does is with this light box is it just, or natural light, it just sends messages with this. It just resets the circadian rhythm and melatonin. And of course, melatonin is the hormone your body naturally produces to help regulate sleep and the wake cycles. And it's also known as the circadian rhythm. So regulate sleep, it boosts alertness and energy, and it decreases that seasonal depression that can really happen. So it could be a real big game changer of people who wake up and are very sluggish in the morning. So that's my number four, Dr. Mike, light therapy, whether it's natural or through a box, or check this out. I got this little ring light, even a ring light like this. Just about all the kids have a ring light. Let me turn on my camera, Dr. Mike, so you can see this again. There's a ring light right there. So it's just an example. Sit in front of that for 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, great idea. I got up this morning at 5 and it was dark out, and I needed to get woke up. So light is a great way. I couldn't go outside, so artificial light was my best way to get started.
What'd you use, Dr. Mike?
Oh, I just turned on regular lights today. I have a Happy Light, 10,000 lux unit that a lot of times I'll put on in the morning when I'm shaving and in the bathroom and stuff like that. So I have one
Nice.
of those Happy Lights. I didn't have it, didn't use it
Mhm.
today. I don't use it as much this time of year, but probably October when, it's getting darker and darker
I
morning and night.
I always said that the happiest people in the world must be radiologists, especially the old school ones, because they had to sit in front of the actual light box. And this was when they used to have the X-rays where you'd slap them up on the light box, and they'd be getting that light all day long. Unfortunately, now it's all on computer, so it defeats the purpose. But
Yeah,
I think
so they aren't as
back
happy.
back in the day, go
Yeah,
ahead,
yeah.
Dr. Mike.
We're going with some good old school things, but old school usually works. Number four, mindless habits that fuel overwhelm and exhaustion. So the takeaway is do a habit inventory. Daily habits like poor posture, shallow breathing, and cluttered environments significantly drain your energy without our awareness. So workspace, chaos such as cluttered desks and too many browsers on kids' laptops and tablets and constant interruptions scatter focus and deplete mental energy throughout the workday. And so other lifestyle choices like watching intense movies and intense video games and TV shows and bright lights before bed disrupt our circadian rhythm and emotional balance, leaving tired and just sensory overload. So quiet music, dim the lights at night before going to bed, and just have a clean workspace and a clean desk if you need to do homework or write a paper, and whether it's the kitchen table or not, and have a dedicated area so you can just feel comfortable and put your papers out and your books out, and just have a quiet area and quiet music going when you're studying and reading and working, and not really loud, adrenaline pumping music like before a sporting event and things like that, and just no TV on when you're trying to get things serious. So do a habit inventory so you don't get overwhelmed and overstimulated when you're really trying to focus on schoolwork and creativity and productive work. So that's
Great.
number four, Dr. Gordy.
That's great. Great point. My fifth and final one, Dr. Mike, is a mental health recess. You can teach your kids this. So try this. It's just an emotional check-in or basically mental offloading. So the way it works is your emotional regulation is overlooked. I think a lot of times in school children, completely overlooked. So take 10 minutes or teach your kids 10 minutes to weekly basically dump this emotional load off. And they can do it through habits of journaling or a voice memo on their phone. They can do it through their artwork or just talk to someone. So a lot of times kids don't talk about their emotions or what's bothering them, or they have these emotions built up and there's no outlet for them. So I think it's important to teach them how you can do that. And those are just some examples. A lot of times these emotions can build up and then all of a sudden it just leads to burnout and anxiety and some other health problems that just kind of build up over time. So that would be my last and final one, Dr. Mike.
I have one that's interesting, and we've talked about scents and chemicals and toxins a lot, plastics and the importance of water. Mine is asbestos and benzene are found in crayons and markers. And so back
Wow.
to school usually means pens and paper and pencils and backpacks and erasers and all of that stuff. And I think about that too much when I'm using pens and different things. But asbestos contains 6 types of fibrous, heat-resistant, known carcinogenic minerals, which are banned in nearly 60 countries and kills 100,000 people a year.
Wow.
Researchers found asbestos in play school crayons, phthalates in blue 3-ring binders, and benzene in dry eraser markers, all commonly purchased in back-to-school supplies for young kids. And like I said, backpacks, and they're scented, and clothing. And I remember in school, someone was bragging that their colored pens and markers would smell. And I remember scratch and sniff books. And so their red marker might smell like strawberry, but I know that's poison. And if it
Yeah.
smells toxic, because it doesn't have a specific fruity smell, you shouldn't be smelling markers, in my opinion, because they just have major toxic chemicals. So your brain can't function and memorize and be creative and learn and be receptive like kids' brains should be in school. And so do a toxic inventory of your kids' colors, crayons, backpack. Just look at that and see if you can detect if there's too many chemicals and scents and toxins and odors coming from that, because that over a school year can make a big, big difference. And so that's my number 5, Dr. Gordy.
Excellent work, Dr. Mike. I learned some stuff here today as well. So thanks for sharing.
I love it. I love it. So I end all of our podcasts with, what's your number one takeaway that you can share with another parent who has a kid in school or college, that you could maybe take an inventory, check some habits, do some minor tweaks and changes to have the best school year so far? So what's your number one takeaway that you can share with another parent that you learned from Dr. Gordy or I, or it jogged your memory, or you're going to do some more research online? And then what's your number one action step that you can take? If you don't have any kids in school, if you don't have back to school, you're an empty nester, or you don't have any kids, what can you take away that we talked about that you can apply to your life? So I know there's one thing. You can share it in the comments. I'm really curious what your number one takeaway from today is.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us here on the Health Angle podcast. Please subscribe to our channel. Please like our content and hit that notification bell. Next week, we'll have another edition, another health topic. Until then, we'll see you on the Health Angle podcast.
Thank you for joining us on the Health Angle podcast. Please subscribe to our channel and catch us for our next episode.